Welcome back, Love Stylers. I'm Misty. Today we're going to be talking about the first step to living a sober lifestyle. So I've been sober for 5 years. Before that, I drank my entire life from probably late teenagehood or even early teenagehood till 5 years ago. So I'm 49 years old. And I did not quit drinking by attending any AA meetings, and I went cold turkey and it worked for me. So I'm going to talk about some of my thoughts on this in case you've ever considered giving up drinking in your life because you feel it's pulling you down or holding you back from maybe living a better lifestyle or pursuing your dreams, pursuing your art, being a better human being. So a lot of people say the first step to some type of recovery or addiction is admitting you have a problem. I'm going to challenge that and say not admitting yet, but just recognizing or maybe realizing that there may be a problem if you're drinking a little too much. Now, some people can have one drink. I am not one of those kind of people. I don't like labels, but I'm going to say I'm in the alcoholic category. So for this video's sake, we can call me an alcoholic. I don't love it, and it makes me a little squirmy, but there's probably many reasons for that. We want to thank you for tuning in today to Love Style, where we talk a lot about small pivots, little changes that you can make every day towards living a better lifestyle. I lost a lot of weight, and so did my husband, Andrew, by switching to a low-carb lifestyle. I eat mostly carnivore, 90%, and I do keto the other 10%, and sometimes some other foods or cheats, but I no longer include drinking in my diet. So if alcohol is part of your diet, please keep listening. You might find this interesting. So thank you for subscribing. And I have a ton of videos, guys, on low carb, so check those out. But today is going to be a different video about alcohol. I've been wanting to talk about alcohol a lot more because I love my life so much more now that I gave it up. I thought it was going to be very, very hard. And I have to admit, it's easier than I thought it would be. So this is still a surprise every single day to me. And I want to say, if you are drunk right now, or if you have a drink in your hand, hit the like button. If you can't wait to get home because you want to pop open that beer, pour your glass of wine, or you can't wait for the trip to the liquor store, also hit like. There's a lot of us out here, guys, and it doesn't mean you're a bad person or you're a big sinner if you like to have a drink occasionally. I'm talking about making it part of your life. Part of your lifestyle. You have to have your wine. You have to have your cocktail as soon as you get home. And I want you to just think about it for a minute and question if you might be relying on alcohol to feel like you can get through the day, through the week, or through your life. So 30 plus years of me going through this makes me want to talk about these kind of things because this is exactly how I thought. If you would have asked me beyond 5 years ago if I've ever considered giving up alcohol, I would say to myself probably, because I'd be too embarrassed to say it out loud, what's the point of living? I would have nothing to look forward to. And yet I'm grateful and have been grateful for having a good life. But there's something about that crutch that was always there for me. We have a lot of emotions. We think that the alcohol is going to soothe us. And I have to admit, it definitely soothed me for many, many years. And I have found things now to soothe me instead. So this is not a judgy video. This is coming from a place in my heart, from a place of love, because I never knew life could be so much more engaging, gratifying, and I didn't think I would ever be happy unless I had my drink there. You know, I watch other people when they were celebrating at a wedding, or it's Christmas time, or it's your birthday, or it's New Year's Eve, and I would watch people enjoy their cocktail, and it might take them 2 hours to drink one drink. Well, I was already on my third or fourth by then, and I've never been anybody who could just have one. So to me, that was one definite sign. If you cannot have just one drink, then you may have to realize or recognize that that might be a sign that alcohol is playing too much importance in your life, like it did for me. So that was one sign. Another sign I found was if I didn't remember the events of the night before and someone starts talking about what somebody said, somebody did, or what I did or said, and I have no recollection, kind of keep it to yourself sometimes because you're a little bit ashamed that you don't remember these events. And that is another definite sign you might be putting a little too much importance on your drinking. Some people have their 3 martini lunch and they go to lunch when they're working in a workday and they have to go to a restaurant that serves alcohol. They can't bring their lunch. They have to go to a place possibly that serves cocktails, wine or beer, maybe even sneaking it in because you shouldn't be drinking while you're on the clock or driving. But let's just say you've done it. Let's just say people who smell like booze at work. They're drinking on the clock. Now, they are drinking during a workday, and that is another definite sign that this might be more than just a one-time thing and more of a bad habit. Some people might wait till they're on the drive home from work and they pop a cocktail while they're driving, which is obviously a terrible idea. So if you're drinking in the car before you get home, if you can't wait to get home every day and you look forward to opening that bottle of wine like I used to do quite a bit, maybe not every day, but a few times a week, enough to get me to think about, I wonder what would life be like without it. And it took me years to come to that on my own terms. And it was the best thing I ever did for myself. What about when you go to the liquor store and they know you? Hi, how are you, John? Fine, Misty. When they know your name at the liquor store, they know your face at the liquor store, and you come in and buy the same thing every time, or maybe you mix it up. Maybe you're just like a household face or name at your local liquor store. That may be a sign that you might be putting too much emphasis on the alcohol in your life, in your diet. I used to date a guy back in the day who used to hate his job. And it was kind of a rough job, to be honest with you. A lot of chemicals, warehouse stuff. But he didn't have a lot of management trying to micromanage him. So he stayed at the job that he hated because during his break, he was allowed to drink a 6-pack of beer. So he stayed at this job purely because he could drink at the job. If you've ever stayed at a job because they don't mind if you drink on the job, that might be a sign. Well, you might say like Misty, I have my reasons for drinking. We drink for emotional reasons and it makes us feel better somehow. And some of those reasons, and I can relate to all of these guys, is not enough money. You may not be where you thought you would be at a certain age. You may be looking for the love of your life and feel lonely. You may have had a miscarriage, which I had in the past, and that was very difficult. And some death in your life, death in the family, abuse from childhood, or just abuse or bullying. You may be socially awkward. You may be young and you may have a crush on a boy. And this is what happened to me when I was younger. I didn't even realize it till I started thinking about it. I had such a crush on this one guy. I think I would drink to loosen up around him because I would get kind of shy, and I think that started snowballing into giving myself other reasons why I thought the alcohol helped. I even used to drink, on stage before a gig because when you play music in front of people, on stage, you get a little bit of tightness in the shoulders sometimes. Not quite stage fright, but you get a little nervous. and you might get some shaky knees like I used to, and I would drink before a gig, before we even arrived, and then drink while we were playing. So these things I thought helped me loosen up. And I'm sure you can relate to some of these things. You may be working very hard at work. You may feel invisible to your boss, for example. Or you might not feel like you're getting recognized for all of the hard work you put into so many things. And it makes sense that we all need a little bit of a hug. And I think that's what alcohol and even drugs sometimes can give us. It helps very much if you are thinking that you want to lessen your drinking, which rhymed by accident. You may want to start to say something to the closest person to you and ask them without judgment if they think that your drinking is hindering your progress in life. And Andrew and I have had many heart-to-hearts about this. And, I wasn't ready for many years to do anything about it because I really thought I needed that. And it turns out I was wrong. And so 5 years ago, maybe we'll put a picture here. 5 years ago, this is the day that I decided to go on a low-carb diet, the keto diet, and quit drinking at the same time. Cold turkey. No AA meetings, and it can be done. So making this choice was something, it took me a few years to come to terms with myself and recognize and realize that drinking was not doing me any good. And in fact, it was hindering my progress and my growth that I wanted to attain in my own life. I wanted to do this for Andrew's birthday 5 years ago. And that's the day I decided to do it. And I thought that would be a great gift for him because, we had our ups and downs in our marriage. It seemed like the problem always stemmed from my drinking. Now, I can admit that now. At the time, I could have given you a list of excuses. But the problem was because I was drunk. And what made me realize that it was too much, besides a long list of other things, was one night Andrew said that I kicked him out of the house. Now, I had no recollection the next day of kicking my own husband out of our own house, who I love very much. And he's a great husband. I would have no reason to kick Andrew out, but he said I kicked him out of the house, and I did not remember one single bit of this happening. So I know I had a blackout, and that is another sign. I should have listed it with the others. If you've had blackouts, if you have bad hangovers, if you need a drink the next day after you got drunk the night before to make you feel almost normal, that is a big sign. So I had no recollection of kicking Andrew out of the house. I thought he was lying. Now, he doesn't make a habit of lying. So I had to face and realize the fact that the drinking was too much anymore in my life. And that, if I had to pick a rock bottom, was my rock bottom event that got me to stop drinking. So if you have memory loss, and even memory loss from years ago, Andrew tells me stories all the time. Don't you remember when so-and-so said you were so-and-so in Georgia? Remember the gig over here? I don't remember these events. And it's very, very scary. And I'm not trying to scare you today. But it's very, very scary to me to not remember half of my life. There are some times I wish I could remember. Times with the band. And a lot of good times with the family and such. But not remembering parts of your life is a definite other sign that you may want to cut back or give up the drinking altogether. I also want to bring up the fact that I would try to sort of invent reasons to celebrate for myself, and also On the other hand, reasons to be upset, whether it was something that happened at work or you didn't have a great day, these two reasons do not mean that you have to give yourself a fake excuse to consume alcohol to feel normal. It may be that the pain that you are keeping inside from another emotion from way back in your childhood or from something your mom or dad said to you is still inside, and you feel like the drink helps you a bit. I completely understand. And trying to switch that off and try new things to get you to not think about the pain that you're harboring inside is not that simple. But I want you to start to think about it if you can. So you might be wondering, like, Misty, like, what actually got you to stop drinking? Like, what was the final nail in the coffin that got you to say, enough is enough? Well, I told you about Andrew saying I kicked him out of the house. The other event was we were planning a trip to the Serpent Mound. And I don't know if you've ever heard of the Serpent Mound. They have it on Ancient Aliens, and it's one of the mystical places in the U.S. Let's just say it's the U.S.'s answer to Stonehenge. Just one of those places where you can pick up good energies. You may get downloads, and Andrew and I are really into this stuff. So it is in Amish country in Ohio. And trust me, guys, there's no party there, so I wasn't that excited about going. But this is the beginning of my spiritual journey. Everything started for me when I went to Serpent Mound. Now, we could say there was an energy there that helped me. I would like to believe that. And that's not the craziest thing if you do your research about these mounds in the U.S. and these mystical places. So I gave up drinking that very day because it was Andrew's birthday and we were going to a mystical place. This was Amish country where there was no partying going on anyway. I don't even know if there was a liquor store there. And I was like, this is the perfect time to try to stop drinking and do this for my marriage, do this for my health. I had high blood pressure. I couldn't lose weight very easily. I was exercising, but the weight was staying on. I finally dropped weight as soon as I stopped drinking. Now, I'm going to equate that to going low carb at the same time, but believe me, concentrated sugar is not going to help you lose weight, and I just want to throw that in there. So this was the perfect time for me, and Andrew said this was the very first time we had gone to a restaurant for dinner, and I did not order a drink or wine, and that just tripped me out because we were talking about it this morning. So that was the day I started. I haven't had a drink since, and I'm very happy I made this decision. This is a definite sign. If you don't want to go somewhere because you don't know where the drinks are going to be coming from, or you can't really drink because it's a tour, or you have to drive a lot and you don't know when you're going to get to having your drink, I want you to realize and recognize how that makes you feel. I used to base where we would go to have a good time on whether or not I could drink. Even the movies I didn't like going to because you have to sit for 2 or 3 hours and you don't have any booze there. And if you are like me and you cannot have just one drink, it's okay. There's a lot of us out here. You could call it what you like. You could go to AA if you like, if you think that would help you. It did not help me to think of going to AA as another job that had to do with pulling time away from my regular life, that had to be based on alcohol. I wasted 30 years already basing a lot of my time and emphasis on alcohol. So I didn't feel like AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, would be the best place to put my time any further. And so I went cold turkey, and that's not the case for everybody. You may have to go slow with this if you're considering giving up drinking or slowing down your drinking. You know, guys, if you want to have a cocktail or a glass of wine or a beer or two because it's your birthday or because it's New Year's Eve and you're celebrating the new year coming in, or Christmas, or somebody's wedding, that is a different story, I feel like, than having it as being part of your weekly or daily diet. If alcohol is part of your low-carb diet, especially, I'm going to ask you today to try giving up one drink a week if you feel like going cold turkey is too quick, too abrupt, and too hard. So giving up one drink a week might be a place to begin and could be your step one this week. I like to do a truth bomb at the end of the videos lately, and I also want to thank you for listening to Black Eyed Soul. That's our band. Andrew and I record right here in this room, and you can find Black Eyed Soul anywhere there is streaming music, or go to blackeyedsoul.com. And my truth bomb here today, guys, is if you have grown up in a party type of celebratory atmosphere in your family, whether you're having a lot of parties and celebrations, whether you like to get loud because you're a big, loud, fun family, that's great. Whether you like to get together for sports or playing music together and drinks are just part of the atmosphere, it's not the worst thing in the world. But if your family tradition is based mostly on the drinking part, like my family tradition is and was, you could be the first one in your family to change the family tradition to healthier choices, making the first step to living a sober life so you can be more present with your children. They can pass it on to their children, and so on, for a healthier and more present existence. This is the first step to living a sober life, is realizing and recognizing that it might not be doing you so much good. Thank you for tuning in to Love Style today. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you feel about any of the things I mentioned today in the comments, and I will answer you. Peace.